Listen, Amazon isn't playing with their shows. Like, I'll admit that when I first was looking into them, I wasn't really taking them seriously because all I cared about was their 2-day shipping. So every time I got an ad for Bosch, I would ignore it more than the NBA. But one day, I just started binging all of their shows and they're freaking incredible. Like, Amazon's already making plays every award season with their movies, but when I saw this show called Homecoming, I legit think this may be top 3 best series going on right now. However, what I want to talk about in this video is another one that's taken my heart. A show that I do believe is in the top 10 of the year. And I'm going to go on more tangents than Mrs. Maisel. Let me explain. So I highly recommend this show, and as most of you know if you've watched these videos, I highly encourage you guys to stop to let me explain, go binge it, and then come back to talk about it so you could just, experience it on your own. But this show pretty much revolves around this housewife named Midge, whose businessman of a husband strives to be a comedian, only for her to find out that he's been stealing more lines than IGN. What's crazy about the show is that after she finds out that her husband is a liar, and that he's a cheater, she takes all of that anger out on stage where she finds out that she may in fact be the comedian in the family, and then becomes the incredible Mrs. Maisel. Now, I think it's interesting how this is pretty much a play on Joan Rivers, who was also a young Jewish divorced wife, who got some mentoring from Lenny Bruce to become a prolific female comedian that was pretty vulgar.
It was, I don't want to talk, it was all, he wanted to make love with the lights on. I said, you shut that car door.
Adele wanted to sue me because I said she wasn't attractive, but I made it up because I got her a spa day at Pets R Us.
But I had a very bad birth when I was having my child. When I was having Melissa, I screamed and screamed, and that was just during conception. I was just...
Old Meryl Streep.
Very angry at me.
Oh, she's angry.
Very angry, and I don't know why, because I think she's a brilliant author. I think she's a brilliant actress.
That's
Did
right.
you see her as Lincoln? Kim Kardashian. You know what I mean?
Right.
That I was at the wedding, and I caught the bouquet. Isn't that exciting? Yeah. First thing to catch from her that didn't need a shot of penicillin.
But if they ever make a real biopic on Rivers, they have to get Christine Baranski to do it, because look at them. Now, I love season 1. Season 2 is good, but it's nowhere near season 1. And I think that has to do with the kind of like sophomore slump that a lot of shows go through, where it's not saying that the second season is bad. It's just not as great as the first. But what's always consistent with Maisel is the dialogue.
All comics are comics because something in their lives went horribly wrong. Something went to shit. Either their hairline, Eugene, or their personal lives, me and Stan. I don't even need to know the details, but looking at Stan, you just want to apologize and tell him everything's going to be okay. Which it won't, because it's Stan.
Like, you ever watch a musical and by the time they get to the music, it's not really up to par? Or maybe they do something like in season 2 where, they hype up a painting or something that's supposed to be visually stimulating, and you know that they can't live up to the hype that they're giving it, so the cameraman never actually shows the painting on screen. Well, I love how Maisel's acts are actually funny, right? I've seen a lot of stand-up based shows or movies where they turn the audience into a laugh track, even though the punchlines that they're given on stage are weaker than Urkel, and I think all of the credit goes to the Palladino duo right here, who write the show together, which I think is really cool.
There's long chunks of time where we actually, during a day, don't see each other. One person is down on stage directing, one person's in the writer's room, or one person's in editing, or one person's at a sound mix, and
one person's hiding.
Yes, one person's just sobbing in a corner, eating their hair, usually me. And we have those moments where it's like, what was your day like? Even though our days were kind of the same days and in the same arena, but we didn't have the same experiences.
But when you consider that Amy, who also previously did Gilmore Girls, which I hear is a great show that y'all should binge, you realize why every scene feels like a tennis match with words.
Excuse me, I'm in the middle of an order here.
I'm so sorry, what were you getting?
Pork chops.
Put pork chops on my tab. Oh, I can't believe it. The rabbi's been mad at us since the wedding. It only took 4 years of apologies and a dreidel signed by Sammy Davis Jr., but we finally got the bastard.
Disgraceful.
You like your free pork chops? Zip it then.
Delivery Thursday?
Obviously, when you have a great cast, that's easy. Some of y'all may know Tony Shalhoub as Monk, where he's really good, but here he's literally touching everything.
Zelda, don't clean in here. It's fine just the way it is.
You have to pick your friends as if there's a war going on. You want a husband who'll take a bullet for you, not one who points to the attic and says, they're up there.
I'd say he's the second most important role as Midge's father. There's the mom, who is kind of getting more development in the second season, even though I know more about her son, and that dude's a CIA agent. Joel, who's a complete and utter buffoon in season 1. He's the ex-husband who, How do you go for the secretary over this?
So proportional. How long have you been measuring yourself like this? Every day for 10 years. Even when you were pregnant? There's not enough daiquiris in the world.
Granted, I feel like he's eventually going to become Midge's bodyguard since he's already been paperboying it a bit for her. Or he takes that small loan of $60K that his dad gave him back in the day and buys his own nightclub to trump the competition and give Maisel a spot to perform. Susie, who, look, I can't get over where I remember her from because I don't know how many of you watched Mad TV back in the day, but every time I see her, I'll never be able to think of anything else but Mrs. Swan.
Miss Swan, you got the vegetarian.
Yeah, the vegetarian nut.
Yeah.
With a little bit of bacon.
Dude, she was my favorite character after Stewie.
Punch it in now.
Okay, but you don't look.
Nope, won't look. I'm not looking.
7, 9.
But here she plays the manager who by the end of season 2 gets offered a job to manage the competition, who I personally think she's going to take it. I think she should take it, but again, that's just me. And I personally think she should still be carrying that plunger. And then there's season 2's new love interest, who, Chucks, he's so adorable. And I want to say that, in my opinion, they're going to stay together. Like, he's already a busy doctor, so that offer that Maisel gets at the end of season 2, I don't see why he wouldn't support it, considering that he already likes her stage persona. I personally don't think it's going to be a problem, but considering that they're trying to make something out of what kind of feels is really nothing, that's where I guess a lot of the criticisms for the show start to come in. Like, I've heard a couple people complain that Maisel isn't really that empowering, considering she's already rich, she's gorgeous, and she seems to be divergent with the way she always gets everything her way. And while I kind of see that, being raised by a single mother, I'm not really going to give Maisel a pass or any props because she works 2 jobs just for fun. I don't think it invalidates her story. Like, yeah, she does get a lot of passes, but she's also put into a lot of situations where she has to figure it out herself. Every time her time slot is pushed back, she makes the best of it. She takes her criticisms and downfalls and turns them into comedy. And I also think she's trash sometimes.
God, this woman is beautiful. She's Lena Horne. She helps our Negro customers.
Because she's a Negro.
What?
Harriet's a Negro. Where's this going?
It's not going anywhere.
Obviously.
So, yeah, she's not perfect. She messes up. So in the same way that I'm against censoring comedians, I'm also not going to look down on a character and play the oppression Olympics on them. Like, if I'm watching something, I'm here to hear their story.
I think comedy's heading into a very dangerous place right now, and I'm very worried about there's some weird I'm not. If we start not being able to do stories because viewed through the lens of Me Too or this, that you can't suddenly have anyone have an apolitical position or thinking about the message that it's sending out. There's no comedy. Comedy is over.
The worst thing about what you just, no one's seen it. Like,
That's the biggest problem.
Well, there's the outrage addiction. I think we're all sort of into it.
That said, I don't know what's going on with the parent side of this story. It almost feels like the kids are just there to be used by Maisel whenever she needs a line or they need to advance a little plot of the story.
You can't give me a curfew. I'm a 26-year-old woman. I have 2 children.
Like, season 2 began and I had completely forgotten that she had an infant. I thought this baby had just gotten dropped off by a stork or something. Like, there's been little to no conversations with the kids. And I'm not expecting them to give a Jacob Tremblay speech or anything like that. But if you're gonna have them as plot points, give them a little attention. She didn't even think about them when she automatically signed up for a 6-month tour. She thought about everyone else but them. Like, even Aubrey talked more about Adonis when he went on his. That said, I'm still excited for season 3. I highly recommend both seasons, and it just continues to prove that while Netflix and Hulu and all of these other stations are doing big stuff, Amazon ain't messing around.
Okay, now you don't need to yell at me, Mr. Jackass in Box. Okay, I already sent my order to the bozo in there.
That bozo with me!
Oh, hi, bozo.
Thank you guys for checking out this video. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Which character stands out the most to you? I don't know if you guys have seen Mrs. Maisel. If you were like me and you just weren't paying attention to the Amazon shows, I listen to y'all's recommendations. I say listen all the time, but I listen to you guys. This was one that was recommended a lot on the Inchicut podcast. If you guys don't know the Inchicut podcast, definitely go check that out. I host it with my buddy Zach, who, by the way, has a music video, which I'll link up right here. Definitely go check that out. He's been directing some incredible stuff. But over there on the podcast, we're always talking about like new shows. And recently, we've just fallen in love with Amazon because you guys have recommended stuff. This, I would say, is top 3 in Amazon. Homecoming is one that I definitely want to make a video on. But, Amazon's got a bunch of secret things over there that I guess they are getting pushed a lot, just no one's taking Amazon as serious. Or, I mean, people watch it, I just don't think that they're taking it as serious as they do Netflix or some other streaming stuff for the people who may still look down on streaming. There's some really good stuff going on over there. Curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Any other shows that you recommend, that you want to see. And until next time, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll send you to Peter Luger's.